Hey everyone, welcome back to this 7-day crash course. In today's lesson, I'm going to show you how to write the third and the fourth paragraph in your Writing Task 1 essay. So in the third and the fourth paragraphs, you're now going to start describing the specific details in your infographic, meaning you're going to start describing the numeric details, the numbers, and the data in your graph or your chart. So let's get started. We're going to first go over some basic information. First of all, in detail paragraphs, you have to include key information and numeric details. So again, this just means that you need to start describing the numeric data. The next point to keep in mind is that if you have a graph or a chart in which there's a lot of data, then you should not write about every single data point because this is a waste of time. So if you get a graph or a chart where you see a lot of information, then you have to prioritize which information is the most important and just talk about those key data points. So very soon, I'm going to show you an example of which data points you should be including. Now let's talk about the general strategy for writing paragraphs number 3 and 4. Actually, this strategy is quite simple. All you have to do is you have to split your infographic into two halves. Next, you simply have to describe the key information and the numeric details of the first half in the third paragraph and talk about the specific details of the second half in the fourth paragraph. So in just a second, I'm going to show you exactly how to do this. The final thing to keep in mind is that for the detailed paragraphs, you only have to write 2 to 3 sentences for each paragraph, and you will only have about 5 minutes to write each detailed paragraph. Now let's take a look at our practice question. So this is the same practice question which you've seen in our previous lessons. So we've already written the introduction and the overview for this practice question. So now we're going to start writing the specific details. If you need to refresh your memory and read this question prompt, then you can simply pause the video and read it now. So I'm going to move on now. So like I said, the first thing that you have to do to write the detailed paragraphs is you have to split your infographic into two halves. So let's go ahead and do that. So this is the first half of our infographic. So this means that in our third paragraph, we're going to be describing the details for the years 1995 up until 1998. And then in the fourth paragraph, we're going to talk about this second half. So in the fourth paragraph, we're going to describe the key details for the years 1999 up until 2002. So now let's go ahead and take a look at the first sentence of our third paragraph. Our first sentence reads, specifically, from 1995 to 1998, local fixed lines, national and international fixed lines, and mobiles all increased in use. So here, we're simply saying that from the years 1995 to 1998, all the different call types increased in use. So as you can see, the local fixed line calls have increased in use. The same is true for national and international fixed line calls and for the mobile calls as well. Now let's move on to our second sentence. Local fixed line calls steadily rose from around 72 billion minutes to approximately 90 billion minutes, whereas national and international fixed lines climbed from about 38 billion minutes to nearly 48 billion minutes. So here, we're saying that the local fixed line calls steadily increased. They started increasing from around 72 billion minutes, so we're estimating this data point here, and it increased to approximately 90 billion minutes Again, we are estimating this data point. Keep in mind that whenever you are estimating what the data point is, you have to use words such as around or approximately to maintain accuracy. Notice here that this is not exactly 72 billion minutes, and this is not exactly 90 billion minutes. In these cases, we are estimating what the numbers are because we don't really know what the exact numbers are. So make sure to always use words such as around and approximately to maintain accuracy. So we're saying that local fixed line calls steadily increased, whereas national and international fixed lines also increased. So again, we are estimating the numbers. We're saying that national and international fixed lines increased from about 38 billion minutes to nearly 48 billion minutes. Now let's take a look at our final sentence. Mobile calls experienced the fastest growth, nearly tripling from a mere 3 billion minutes to approximately 9 billion minutes. So here we're saying that mobile calls experienced the fastest growth. They nearly tripled in number, starting from about 3 billion minutes to about 9 billion minutes. So now that we have described all the important data points in the first half of our bar graph, our third paragraph is now complete. Now, before we move on to writing the fourth paragraph, I want to make an important note. I want you to note that I have not estimated every single data point in the first half of our bar graph. Notice that I have not described these data points here or these data points here. The reason for this is because these are not very important data points. You don't have a lot of time to write the Task 1 essay, so you have to make sure that you only write about the most important data points. In this case, I've decided to talk about these data points here because these are the starting data points. This is where our bar graph starts. On the other hand, I've decided to talk about these data points because this is the ending data point for the first half of our bar graph. So for that reason, I've only talked about the data points from the years 1995 and 1998. And by talking about the data points for these 2 years, I've also described the trend of the graphs. I've said that all the different call types experienced growth over the years 1995 to 1998. So in my third paragraph, I have done 2 things. The first thing is that I have described the starting data point and the ending data point. The second thing that I've done is that I've described the trend of the graph over the period of 1995 to 1998. So I hope that that's clear for you. Now let's move on to writing the fourth paragraph. So for the fourth paragraph, we're going to look at the second half of our bar graph. So we're going to look at the years 1999 to 2002. So let's start with the first sentence of our fourth paragraph. From 1999 to 2002, local fixed lines experienced a reversal and substantially declined back down to about 72 billion minutes. So here, we're saying that over the years of 1999 to 2002, local fixed line calls experienced a reversal, meaning that whereas they were going up in the first half of the graph, in the second half, they started to go down. So we're saying that the local fixed line calls substantially declined back down to about 72 billion minutes. Again, notice that we are estimating this number here, so for that reason, we have to use the word about to maintain accuracy. Now let's take a look at our second sentence. In contrast, national and international fixed line calls continued to steadily rise to nearly 60 billion minutes during the same period, while mobile calls remarkably surged to about 45 billion minutes. So in this second sentence, we're making a comparison. We've used the phrase in contrast to make a comparison. We're comparing the performance of local fixed line calls with national and international fixed line calls as well as the mobile calls. So here, we're saying that while local fixed line calls experienced a reversal and started declining, national and international fixed line calls continued to steadily rise. And they steadily rose up to nearly 60 billion minutes during the same period. And at the same time, mobile calls had remarkably surged to about 45 billion minutes. Here, we're using the phrase remarkably surged to show that mobile calls have experienced a significant growth. So now that we have described all the important data points in the second half of our bar graph, our fourth paragraph is now complete. Again, I want you to notice that similar to the third paragraph, I have not included every single data point in the fourth paragraph. In the fourth paragraph, I've only described the trend of each of these different call types, and I've given the ending data point for each of these different call types. So now our fourth paragraph is complete, and with that, our entire Task 1 essay for this practice question number 1 is also complete. So now let's take a look at what our entire Task 1 essay looks like. So this is the entire Task 1 essay that we have written in our crash course so far. So we already wrote the introduction and the overview in our previous lessons, and in this video, we have finished our paragraphs number 3 and number 4. So now our Task 1 is finished, and that's all you have to do for the Task 1 essay. So we're going to wrap up this video right here. Be sure to check out tomorrow's lesson, in which I'm going to take you through another practice question, and we're going to be writing the entire Task 1 essay all together. On a final note, I just want to say that if you want to master the writing Task 1, you don't have to wait for the rest of this crash course to do it. If you're interested, you can check out my full premium course on the Academic IELTS Writing Task 1. So simply click the button down below to start your free trial. So thanks for watching, and until next time.